Hello. So first things first is my introduction. My name is Cindy, and I currently reside in Tampa, and I'm currently working as a closing coordinator for Mattamy Homes. If you're not familiar with Mattamy Homes, they are a home builder that's originated from Canada. They recently broke ground here in Tampa, probably about 3 to 4 years ago, and they're growing very, very quickly. And in my current role right now at Mattamy Homes, I am the person that closes the homes that we build. This means I am the middleman between different lenders, our construction group, also with the county, making sure that all the paperwork's in and that the home satisfies all the requirements that is needed from everyone. So moving on to the next slide, which is critical thinking. Before coming into this class, I just thought critical thinking was something that was known. I never dived into the idea of it or the concept of it. So before this class, I sought myself to be the challenge thinker. I made a lot of questionable assumptions. I used a lot of misleading information. I failed to recognize the problems that kind of arise within my role. With my position now, it's definitely something that's very hands on, that when you're in the position, you can learn a little bit more versus kind of looking through a training manual or a training booklet to do so. So after that, I think after this class, I am the beginning thinker. With this idea as a beginning thinker, prior to that, I kind of used a lot of assumptions and thought that everything I was doing was correct. I didn't think that there was a problem with the method that I was doing. As a beginning thinker now, I kind of sit back and take a look at the problem first before I kind of dive into the role or the task at hand, and just ensuring that I'm doing this the most efficient way that I can versus doing something that takes a little bit longer, that gets the same results, but it takes a little bit longer. Now, I'm ensuring that all of my hard facts are correct versus making assumptions. I'm ensuring that I have the correct paperwork, that the paperwork is in hand before, moving on to my next task versus thinking, oh, this paper will come in tomorrow. I can work on it tomorrow. The next is a transformation of leadership. Obviously in the article that you read, there was 7 different action logics. In the beginning of this class, I thought I was the diplomat. I was always loyally serving others, serving my team's purpose and my leader's purpose for the group. I ensured that upper management always saw the best of me, and not really my team, but just ensuring that I was on the radar and ensuring that they knew who I was as a person. But the biggest thing is that I always avoided conflict. If someone did something incorrect on their contracts that are being submitted to us, I typically just go to my boss and say, hey, Chris, can you take care of this for me? I'm not sure why they did A, B, and C, but yeah, and she would typically take care of it. After being in the class and kind of learning a little bit more, I believe I am the achiever now. I'm very open to feedback. Not that I wasn't before, but now I'm more receptive in terms of, okay, this method works for that person. Maybe I should try this method as well. And my boss will tell me too, Cindy, maybe that method isn't working for you. I've done it this way. You should probably think about doing it this way. Or, she'll sit me down and say, hey, I'm thinking that you should say A, B, and C to the buyers instead of, D, E, F because it's not working for you. And now with conflict, I think I have a better grasp in terms of conflict. I think everyone comes from a different upbringing. I do believe that, people come from different roles, people come from different companies, different backgrounds, and the way they view conflict is definitely completely different from what I think of conflict. So now, in terms of that, I know how to approach certain people. I know how to approach different scenarios. If I have a conflict that arises that kind of jeopardizes my files, then I'm, that person that will call or email that particular person that's involved as well to kind of make sure that everything gets resolved at that time or will potentially get resolved. And I do think now I believe I can lead a team. Typically, when my boss is out of the office, I'm kind of the next go-to person. Usually everyone comes into my office asking, hey, why isn't this file being closed today? And I'm kind of the person that either knows the answers or try to find a solution for it. And as for my personal brands, I think how people view me is that I am a person that's always reliable and a person that's always going to serve for the team and the leader's purpose, which is still very true. Um, and, as Tyra stated in her video, she states that personal branding is always going to be an ongoing process. It's not something that happens overnight or happens, over a week or a day. Um, so I believe in the next 3 to 5 years, I will become a leader in my team within the company. And how I will continue my personal brand to make sure that it evolves is that I will always serve to my team's purpose, and to whoever my leader is, to ensure that that whatever our team's goals are, we will be able to achieve it. I think by always being available to assist, and by being able to support my team, that I'll continue that brand for myself and to kind of evolve. As for self leadership, there was an article by Alves, and his counterparts that wrote 6 different ways, of a self leadership. There's 3 different categories that are in it. The first being self goal. And with this is kind of defined as the decision about what goals you're wanting to pursue and how it should be pursued. I do believe that everyone should have their own personal goals. I do believe that people should always have a short term, long term goal. For me, it's kind of when I have a goal set and plan, I always like to put my eye on the prize and make sure that I complete it, whether it be short or long term. Um, and I think by doing that, sometimes, when you have a busy day, it gets complicated because, you get in a rush to finish everything that you can forget what your main goal of the day was. I think that's kind of one of my problems that I have that I need to work on. Next is self observation, and this is increasing one's awareness about when and why to do the things that they do at a certain time. I'm pretty sure this is one of my biggest weaknesses within the workforce. I'm known to be very outgoing and resourceful when it comes to my role, but I tend to act a lot without thinking because I'm always on the go. Sometimes when I become so busy, I forget what comes out of my mouth, or I forget what's my facial expression. So I think that's kind of a downfall for me on my end. Typically, when I'm stressed, I like to kind of sit in my office and calm myself down, and kind of look at things first before moving on to my next role. And I think that kind of comes off in like a not in a negative way, but people do wonder. The next would be a natural reward strategies, which focuses on enhancement of enjoyable tasks and focusing on enjoyable tasks. So I find myself doing a lot of my least favorite tasks in the beginning of the day, and the latter half has my enjoyable tasks. I come into the office around 7:30, so between 7:30 to 10:30, 11ish, I usually just check my emails, do all my paperwork that I need to do, and then I focus on making my buyers phone calls, which is kind of my favorite thing to do. I like to ensure that all of my buyers understand the process. I like to make sure that they know what's coming up, where they need to do the closing, making sure that their lenders are aware that their closing is on this certain date. And the last 2 is constructive thought process. Now, this is another hard one for myself as well. Increase of positive self-image and reduction of negative talk. So I try to make sure that I'm always positive as much as I can. About 80% of the time I am in the office, unless it's a pretty stressful day. I There are busy days where it just sometimes my files don't go the way that I'd like for it to go. So I kind of take a seat back and say, okay, what did I do wrong? What can I do to better this? And then I kind of just walk around the office to de-stress myself. And that's the same thing as negative self-talk. I usually just kind of walk around the office and make sure that, kind of focusing on what I could do better the next time. As far as my career, my main goal is to become a leader of a team, for the company that I believe in, which is kind of like my current role right now, in the company that I work for. I believe in the family environment that they provide, so I'd love to be able to obtain a leadership position with that. During our HPB career management case, I discovered that I really like a family environment and an organized team. So kind of with that being said, I hope to instill the thoughts and ideas about how we will have an open door policy, to be able to assist others, kind of in their time of need of work, and then also to instill genuine actions. I do believe that if you're coming from a genuine place and a genuine background or a genuine action, that it'll always provide, the person you're interacting with a positive relationship and also a positive success story in the future. I think In my last role, my manager at the time said that she always had an open door policy, but never really actually stuck to it. Every time I'd come into her office, she would always be busy. So when it came down to the time where we had a conversation, it didn't feel very genuine at all. It just felt like she was kind of just talking to me to make sure that I don't get upset or make sure that I'm heard, but it wasn't. It was kind of rushed majority of the time. So I think that by having that genuine, coming from a sincere, genuine place, will really help out as a leader. And as far as my developmental network, I do have two different leaders that I work very closely with, one being my own leader, and then the next being my boss, my boss's boss. They've definitely helped me a lot in developing where I am as a person. They are always there to assist in, if I have any questions, any concerns, and things like that. So I'll continue that relationship by being able to set up meetings with them and kind of clarifying what goals I have within the organization.